Let's start with the truth that might sting a little. When a woman ignores you, it doesn't always mean she's done caring. Sometimes it's because she wants to see whether you'll lose your sense of self in the effort to get her attention. That's not cruelty, it's instinct. Women test emotional strength, often without realizing they're doing it. Sometimes she goes silent because she's hurt. Other times because she's genuinely overwhelmed or distracted. But yes, there are moments when she's deliberately creating distance to see what you'll do. And that's where most men get it wrong. They panic. They overtext. They call. They explain. They try to prove their worth. And in doing so, they hand over all their power. When that happens, attraction begins to fade, not because she stopped liking you, but because she stopped feeling your strength. You see, your reaction to her silence matters far more than the silence itself. If you respond with neediness, she loses respect. If you respond with frustration or anger, you look emotionally unstable. But if you respond with calmness, composure, and confidence, everything changes. Women are emotional beings. We feel deeply and think in layers. Sometimes, silence isn't rejection, it's reflection. We pull back to see how we feel, to measure your energy. When you stay calm instead of chasing, you trigger curiosity. That calm presence becomes magnetic. It makes her wonder what you're thinking, what you're doing, and why you aren't reacting the way most men do. That's why today on the Reflective Psyche, I want to walk you through how to act when a woman ignores you, the kind of response that doesn't come from insecurity, but from quiet power. First, stay calm. Don't chase her silence. The biggest mistake men make is reacting impulsively. Hours go by without a reply, and suddenly, the mind spirals. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? Did she meet someone else? That overthinking leads to desperate behavior, follow-up texts, calls, and emotional messages that only make things worse. Here's what you may not realize. Your reaction tells her more than your words ever could. When you panic, it shows that your emotions are controlled by her behavior. That's not attractive. But when you carry on with your day as if nothing has changed, when you stay composed and unbothered, it communicates emotional strength. You're not dependent on her validation. You're focused on your own life. And that calmness, it's rare. One woman once admitted she ignored a man's message on purpose just to test him. She expected the double text, the chasing. But when he didn't react, she became the one obsessively checking her phone. Eventually, she texted him first. That's the power of calm silence. It reverses the energy. Suddenly, she's the one wondering, what's he thinking? Did I push him too far? So when she ignores you, remember, don't overreact. Don't let her silence carry more weight than it deserves. The less you react, the more space she has to reflect and the stronger you appear in her mind. Second, understand what her silence really means. Not every woman ignores a man for the same reason. Sometimes it's emotional withdrawal. Maybe something you said hurt her, but instead of arguing, she retreats. Silence can feel safer than confrontation. Other times, it's a subtle test, a way to see whether she holds emotional power over you. If you start chasing, she learns she can control your feelings. And sometimes it's simply life. Work, stress, family, she might just need time. Her quietness might not be rejection. It might be exhaustion. The key is not to jump to conclusions. Don't assume the worst, and don't play detective trying to decode every minute of silence. If she's upset, your calm energy gives her the emotional safety to come back. If she's testing you, your composure shows her she can't manipulate your emotions. And if she's simply busy, your patience proves that you trust her space and respect her individuality. So instead of asking, why is she ignoring me? Ask, how do I carry myself no matter what her reason is? That's real control. Third, understand this. Silence itself is power. Use it wisely. When she ignores you, the instinct to react is strong. But matching her silence instead of chasing her creates a powerful psychological shift. It's not about playing games, it's about emotional balance. She expects you to react. She expects a message, a call, an explanation. When you don't give her that, it unsettles her. She begins questioning her own move. Why isn't he chasing? Did I lose him? Did I misjudge his interest? That quiet uncertainty makes her rethink everything. Your silence communicates self-respect. It tells her you have standards, that you're not a man who begs for attention. And that quiet dignity is attractive in ways words can't express. But silence only works when it's done right. Don't announce it. Don't say, fine, if you're ignoring me, I'll ignore you too. That's not strength, that's immaturity. You don't explain your silence. You embody it. You let your actions speak. When she finally reaches out, don't rush to respond. Match her tempo. Let your calmness linger. The goal isn't to punish her, it's to show her that your peace of mind doesn't depend on her communication. While you're silent, don't just wait, live. Focus on your work, your goals, your body, your mind. Become the version of yourself that you're proud of, with or without her. Because when you're grounded in your own life, that silence becomes effortless, not forced. And here's what usually happens. The longer you remain composed, the more she feels your absence. She starts checking your stories, rereading your old messages, and wondering why you're not reacting. Eventually, that curiosity breaks her silence. She may text something casual like, hey, what are you up to? Or she might test the waters again to see if you still care. Either way, she's the one re-engaging. And that shift happens not because you played games, but because you showed restraint. Remember, silence isn't manipulation. It's self-respect. It's emotional discipline. It's the quiet power that says, I value connection, but I won't beg for it. So if a woman ignores you, don't chase. Don't collapse into insecurity. Just stay centered, calm, and quietly confident. Because when you stop trying to prove your worth, you start showing it. And in that silence, she'll hear everything she needs to. It's about discipline. It's about sending a silent message that says, if you don't value my attention, you lose access to it. That quiet withdrawal isn't revenge, it's strength. Because when a man masters the art of controlled silence, he's no longer reacting to emotion, he's directing it. And trust me, that's a lesson she won't forget. When you choose not to chase, she's forced to confront something powerful. Men who respect themselves don't chase women who disrespect their time. That realization alone can flip the entire dynamic in your favor. Now, let's talk about something most men never understand, the difference between pulling back and walking away. These two moves might look similar, but they serve very different purposes. Knowing which to use can either save a connection that still has potential or free you from one that's already lost its value. Pulling back means creating space without closing the door completely. It's the move you make when her distance feels temporary, when she's distracted, slow to reply, or mildly testing your patience. You don't cut her off. You simply step back and stop overinvesting. You show, without words, that your life doesn't orbit around her. That act alone rebalances the energy. It tells her, I'm not chasing. I'm letting you decide if you still want to be part of this. Walking away, on the other hand, is final. It's not an emotional outburst, it's a boundary. It's what you do when her indifference becomes consistent, when her silence is no longer a phase, but a pattern. If she repeatedly dismisses you, ignores your effort, or treats your presence like an inconvenience, the strongest message you can send is absence. Walking away isn't defeat, it's dignity. It's the highest form of self-respect a man can show. Here's how to know which to choose. Watch for patterns. One ignored message isn't a crisis, but a week of half-hearted replies, cancellations, or indifference. That's behavior. Don't react to a moment. Respond to a trend. Then, check her effort. Is she showing interest elsewhere, initiating conversations, asking about you, suggesting plans? If yes, she may just be overwhelmed or subtly testing your patience. But if she's checked out completely, stop trying to revive something she already buried. And finally, test her response. When you pull back, does she notice? Does she reach out, ask where you've been, or try to reconnect? If she does, the connection still has life. If she doesn't, she's already gone, and your silence only revealed what was real all along. Every woman, at some point, will test a man to see if his emotions control him. When you chase harder after being ignored, you fail that test. But when you stay calm, grounded, and selective with your attention, you pass it effortlessly. You earn respect, the foundation of attraction. But if her silence is pure disinterest, not a test, then walking away is your only winning move. The mistake many men make is hanging on too long. They confuse disinterest for emotional games and keep hoping things will shift. Don't do that. If she doesn't value your presence, no amount of effort will make her see your worth. The truth is simple. When you pull back wisely and walk away decisively, you protect your energy, your confidence, and your power. And power, once protected, draws everything you actually deserve. Because your energy is currency. Spend it only where it's appreciated. Now let's move deeper into something called reclaiming control of the frame. This is the invisible dynamic that defines every interaction, who leads, who follows, and whose world sets the tone. When she starts ignoring you, what she's really doing, consciously or not, is testing whether she can shift that frame in her favor. She wants to know if she can make you chase, adapt, and revolve around her silence. Most men surrender the frame immediately. She ignores a text and they double text. She gives short replies and they chase harder. She withdraws and they start apologizing for things they didn't even do. Every one of those reactions confirms that she's in control. And once she senses that, attraction fades. So how do you take the frame back? Stop seeking reassurance. The moment you ask, "Did I do something wrong?" you've already lost balance. A man who knows his worth doesn't beg for emotional clarity. He stands in his own center. Match her investment, not her indifference. If she's giving little, you give little. If she's distant, you mirror calm distance, not bitterness. You're not punishing her, you're showing balance. That quiet composure resets the tone because you're no longer reacting to her emotions, you're anchoring the interaction with yours. Then, refocus your attention. The more energy you pour into wondering why she's quiet, the more control you give away. Shift that attention back to your purpose, your growth, your ambitions, your world. When your focus returns to you, she feels that shift immediately. That's when the energy flips and she starts to feel your absence instead of your presence. And of course, use silence itself as your ally. Silence is not weakness, it's gravity. It draws her in. When you don't react, she starts asking herself questions she can't ignore. Did I lose him? Has he moved on? That quiet uncertainty rebuilds your value faster than any speech could. Reclaiming the frame isn't about playing games, it's about leadership. A woman feels safest and most attracted to a man whose emotions don't unravel under pressure. When your calmness remains steady despite her silence, she feels that strength. That's when respect grows. And where there's respect, attraction follows naturally. Remember this. Whoever controls the emotional frame controls the direction of the relationship. Your goal isn't to react, it's to lead. Finally, let's talk about building scarcity and value. When a woman ignores you, the natural urge is to prove yourself, to explain, to reassure, to convince her of your worth. But the truth is, value isn't spoken. It's demonstrated through scarcity. Think about diamonds. They're not the most colorful stones in the world, but they're rare, and rarity creates desire. The same principle applies to men. A man who's always available, always replying instantly, always free whenever she calls, becomes predictable. Predictability kills mystery, and mystery fuels attraction. So, if she's ignoring you, stop offering unlimited access. Pull back your attention. Your attention is the most powerful currency you have. When you withdraw it, she feels that loss. She notices the silence, the absence of your presence. That absence speaks louder than words. Start living fully. Fill your time with purpose, your work, your fitness, your goals, your passions. Become so immersed in your own evolution that your energy naturally becomes scarce. When you grow, your value rises. When your world expands, hers starts to orbit yours. And here's the paradox. The less available you are, the more she values your presence. The moment she feels you slipping away, her instinct shifts from ignoring to pursuing. That's not manipulation, it's human nature. Women are drawn to men who embody self-worth, discipline, and purpose. So the next time she ignores you, don't react with emotion. Respond with presence. Build value by becoming a man who's not easily accessed because he's too busy becoming his best self. Because in the end, the greatest revenge for being ignored isn't silence, it's success. Don't beg. Don't over-explain. Don't try to prove your worth. Simply step back. Let your silence do the talking. When you build scarcity, your value naturally rises. And when she realizes that she's no longer the center of your world, something shifts. Curiosity returns. Respect reawakens. And attraction begins to rebuild, not because you chased her, but because you didn't. But there's a point every man must recognize, a line between patience and self-disrespect. That's when it's time to walk away for good. Because sometimes her behavior isn't about testing you or seeking reassurance. Sometimes it's about showing you exactly where you stand. When a woman repeatedly ignores you, strings you along, or treats you like an afterthought, that's not a challenge to overcome, it's a message to understand. The truth is, a woman who values you won't make you guess. She won't leave you wondering for days or force you to compete for her attention. So when you find yourself constantly waiting for her reply, constantly initiating, constantly giving while she gives nothing in return, you're not in a connection. You're in a one-sided effort. And that's not love, that's imbalance. Pay attention to the signs. If she's consistently ignoring your messages, avoiding plans, or acting indifferent, it's no longer a test, it's a choice. She's showing you her priorities. And if she openly entertains other men while disregarding your effort, it's time to face the truth. You are not her priority. But here's the mistake most men make. They stay. They wait, hoping her behavior will change. It won't, because people rarely value what they can always have. If being ignored constantly leaves you anxious, restless, or questioning your own worth, that's not a healthy connection. It's emotional exhaustion. The right woman will bring peace, not confusion. She'll add clarity, not chaos. If her silence feels heavy, it's your signal to stop carrying it. Walking away isn't bitterness, it's liberation. You're not slamming a door, you're simply refusing to stand in one that never opened for you. And here's where real power begins. When you walk away not out of anger, but out of strength, you shift the energy. You show her that her silence didn't destroy your confidence, it revealed it. That's what separates men who crumble from men who grow. A man who can walk away gracefully cannot be manipulated, and that makes him magnetic. Because power isn't in chasing, it's in choosing. When a woman ignores you, that moment can either break you or shape you. Most men take the wrong path. They chase harder, text more, and lose themselves in the process. But if you respond with stillness, control, and purpose, you transform silence into strength. You've now seen what really lies behind a woman's silence. Sometimes it's confusion, sometimes it's emotional testing, and sometimes it's simply disinterest. But your response should never change. Remain calm, grounded, and self respecting. Don't let her behavior rewrite your worth. Instead, use that silence as fuel. Focus on yourself. Rebuild your energy. Let her absence remind you of what you deserve. Because if she respects you, she'll come back with clarity. And if she doesn't, you've already leveled up to a place where her absence no longer matters. That's the difference between men who struggle with women and men who understand them. Strength isn't found in chasing, it's found in letting go. Remember this: women might be drawn to your charm, your looks, or your ambition, but what makes them stay, what earns their lasting respect, is your ability to walk away when you're not valued. Attraction may begin with excitement, but it's sustained by respect. And the man who can stay calm, confident, and emotionally independent when faced with silence always wins. That's how you regain control. That's how you rebuild power. And that's how you turn being ignored into the very thing that sets you apart.